everyone. Welcome to another edition of Hard Copy, the program where we bring you the people behind the news. I'm Maokbe Ogun. Now, 2 years ago, at the inauguration of the newly elected leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Governor Adams Oshiomhole had pretty strong words for the union, which he calls his primary constituency, warning them to desist from bread and butter issues. He said, "It must be obvious to you by now, Comrade President, that the Nigeria Labour Movement, and in particular the Congress, has lost a significant amount of prestige and influence in the eyes of the Nigerian working people and the Nigerian public at large. The Nigerian people no longer see the Congress as the voice of voiceless and a bulwark against socio-economic and political oppression and injustices in the polity. The Congress is essentially viewed as either being complicit or at best indifferent to the cries of the working class people and the middle class citizens who are daily at the receiving end of an unjust social order." Now, in his second part of our interview with the former governor and former president of the NLC, I asked him why he said this and whether his perception of the union has changed.
Well, if at a labor forum, I say those things to labor leaders to their faces, they represent my honest opinion about what I see, what I felt, and what I hear. But I think that the NSA has made some effort to try to, return to the part of the people and take on board a number of issues that affect the well-being of workers and indeed working families. The only little setback is the unfortunate development arising from a faction that emerged as a result of allegations and counter-allegations from their last delegate conference that produced Wamba as president. Wamba is a very articulate guy. He's a very seasoned labor man. He ran his union very well, and I admire his skill and how he was able to rebuild his union from one of those free juniors to becoming one of the major players in one of the major athletes of the NLC. So there is no question about his competence and so on. But he's got to cope with this distraction arising from this. There are also a couple of other things.
Do you call the emergence of the United Labour Congress a distraction?
As far as I'm concerned, there is no United Labour Congress. Because you see, the workers need to own up to their movement. If 1 or 2 or 3 people are not happy with election, that's not the reason to go and create another center. No, I don't subscribe to that. I believe that they should make effort to resolve their issues and fight within the system and not seek escape route to create and polarize our movement. I don't think it's up to them to do that.
Just to say,
because the movement does not belong to the leaders. The movement belongs to the workers. And I know that Nigeria workers want a united labor front to deal with all of the issues that confront them, and there are quite many. So they can't afford the luxury of division that is not based on any ideology, not based on any principled disagreement, just based on, oh, I ought to be president, you are not supposed to be president, I ought to be vice president, you are not supposed to be. These are not the issues. Labor must be an example of how we can build institutions that we support, not because we are occupying position, but because we believe in the mission and vision of that institution. So I don't recognize ULC. There's no ULC as far as I'm concerned. I do recognize that there are some persons who have some disagreement, who have some grievances, and I've tried to encourage, to the best of my ability, the leaders of the NLC to listen to those who have complained,
but it's a lawful organization,
make effort to address those complaints in a way that
they have the right of association,
regain internal cohesion.
Don't they have the right of association? It's
they don't have the right
lawful association.
They don't have the right to disruption. They don't have the right to undermine the unity of Nigeria workers. Because one of the most basic things we were taught as young unionists is that divided we fall, united we stand. That even when we disagree, we should fight within the room, even box ourselves if we can, and as soon as the door is open, we seek solidarity, talk together. That is how labor movement flourish. In every democratic organization, there's bound to be differences in views. But don't carry them to the extent that if my view is not taken, then I will find another house. There will be no end to it. We had 4 central labor organizations before, and a lot of effort was invested in getting to where we were. When President Obasanjo did a broadcast and he said I was running the NLC as a parallel government and conducting myself as alternative president, that was a statement about the potency of the NLC. And there were also people who were sponsored to oppose me, to create eternal destruction. But I had to devise ways and means of accommodating them, sometimes appealing to their conscience, for them not to see me as the owner of the NLC. I'm just a steward, maybe the chief steward, and I have a defined tenure, which means that I'm not going to be the last president of the NLC. So if you destroy the NLC because you don't like my face, when I'm no more there, what are you going to do?
You have, you still see the...
That's not to dismiss that they have some argument about some violations of NLC constitution. Some of the labor veterans who have retired, like our founding president, Hassan Somonu, Sylvester Ejiofor, very seasoned labor leaders who have retired, Ali Chiroma, and even my humble self, we listen to both sides. There are a couple of issues that are not, that those who are aggrieved spoke to, violation of constitution, people who have left their union being accommodated. And we say, no, NSC is not a place for rehabilitation of people who have expired. And we should stick to certain ethics. So there are a couple of issues that, yes, are valid point, but they are not enough to seek to polarize the movement. Nobody who wants, who believes that workers deserve a coherent voice that will support a polarization of the labor movement.